Testing. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Oh my, you're sleeping already. Come on. Good afternoon, everyone. How was lunch? Wasn't it delicious? You can't go wrong with haystacks, can you? Thank you so much to all the people who gave us that wonderful lunch. And just want to say a quick little hello to our Uncle Leon back there.
Yeah,
so good to see you. So good to see you. And welcome back, everyone. Thanks for being with us this afternoon. So you know that I'm Beerley, and you haven't seen too much of my hubby, so...
And I'm Randy Haines. I'm the farmer. Yeah. And
hey, I'm the farmer too.
Oh yeah, you're becoming the master farmer too.
All
yeah.
right. Okay, just so you know. There we are doing our farm thing. You know, the farm story is really an interesting one because when we were dating, first of all, I didn't think that we should be dating because I was busy doing other things in Toronto. And so I told him that I was busy doing other things. And then I stopped and I thought, well, you know what? This guy does farming, he does this and that and that. I think we could be good together. And so when we finally got married, you know, I was thinking, the farming thing sounds really romantic to me. You know what I'm saying? Boy, did I learn fast. I've got to tell you. But it was just this romantic thing to be working with my hubby in the soil and working for God in the soil. And yeah, it kind of wore off a little quick. But, but farming, I've got to tell you, it's been such an absolute blessing because as a dietitian, I teach people about healthy living, but as a farmer, I get to also feed them the very best possible food in the world. And so I have to thank my hubby for his patience with me, teaching me all the things he's taught me all these years. But farming, guys, farming is where it's at. It really is. It's become a hip thing for people to be farming these days. So how many of you have gardens? Anybody? Everybody. How many of you have farms? Anybody have a farm? Romance. Come on, it's romantic. You gotta. I promise. That is fantastic that you all have farms. Keep that up because you know that there are times coming when we will not be able to get food readily, and that time is coming pretty quickly. We're seeing shortages all over the world, things happening that are blocking the food supply, the chain. So fantastic that all of you have farms. I mean, gardens, yeah. All right, so that's us doing our gardening thing. We've been at the Kelowna Farmers Market. This is us at the
Peachland
Farmers Market. Isn't that stuff gorgeous? That's God's handiwork. And, you know, we just marvel every year. We've started planting our seeds already. We've got the house populated with flats all over the place. But at the farmers market, this stuff just brings people in. We always have the longest line of customers because of God's handiwork. And it blows my mind every year, the ministry that we're able to do at the farmers market, getting to know people, our repeat customers year after year. And we have people telling us, they whisper to us, I don't buy from anyone else. You know, they whisper it because, you know, they don't want to offend anybody. We had a lady this past year who came and said to me, Bev, I just got into town last night from a business meeting, and I'm leaving tomorrow morning for a business meeting, but I had to come today to get my carrots. Can you imagine? She had one day to get all kinds of things done before she was gone again, but she had to come to the farmer's market to get these carrots. Amazing. So,
but not much credit to us. These are prayed over carrots and prayed over veggies, so yeah, so he gets the glory for that, yeah.
Amen. God gets all the glory, and we slip God in there wherever we can when we're talking with people because we want them to know where their blessing is coming from. So, you believe this? Your health is your wealth? Fantastic. It certainly is. And here's that little lady that was on the Smithsonian's 100 most significant Americans in U.S. history. That's something I think we all can be proud about. We need to be singing that from the rafters. Education in health principles was what? Was what? Never more needed than now. This was over 100 years ago. So today, it's never more needed than now. It demands the attention of all of us who have at heart the well-being of their fellow man. This isn't something we keep to ourselves. This is for all of us who have at heart the well-being of this community, of all the people out there who we can be helping by God's grace.
Here, Genesis 3:17. Cursed is the ground for thy sake. Notice that, for thy sake. In sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. So how is it for our sake?
Question to the audience. Got to work for it.
Got to work for it.
Yeah.
That's one thing.
Anything else? It sure is. It's all of those things. Yes, it's character building when you're down there weeding. But those weeds the weeds are the key, though.
That's the thing. Like, he cursed the ground, right? Put those thistles and thorns. But that's some of the most nutritious stuff for us is those weeds, right? That keep on coming up and we can't stop them. They just keep on coming.
They just keep coming up. Exactly. And so when God says, cursed is the ground for thy sake, that's a blessing. He's cursing the ground, but in it is a blessing for his people. If we would read it the right way, if we would understand that in our backyards, all those weeds we're trying to get rid of, we should be eating because the nutrition quotient for all of those weeds is off the charts, I'm telling you. The dandelions, the chickweeds, all those tangle weeds, all of them have some kind of medicinal blessing in them. And it's so exciting when you're studying about these things we're just in awe of the blessing that God has put into the curse. And that's what we're going to be talking about this afternoon. So there's this verse that I mentioned this morning, Psalm 104, verse 14. He causes the grass to grow for the cattle and herb for what? For the service of man. Absolutely. That he may bring forth food out of the earth. Some of our favorite weeds, people trying to bushwhack them and all the rest of it. I told you this morning, nurture your dandelions.
So how many have eaten dandelions?
Fantastic.
Oh, awesome. So most people here, that's great. Quick, what are some ways that you like eating them? I've done the same thing since I was a little tiny kid, yeah. I love picking out the center of the dandelion, yeah. Awesome. Anybody else have some favorite ways that they like to eat dandelions? Okay, awesome. A salad is great. I love making a salad in the spring. Yeah. I see a couple of hands up. Yeah, it's the bitter thing. We really need to, Europeans, they love the bitter. And natives, they love the bitter too. That's what they had. We need to learn to enjoy the bitter because that's where the most nutrients are, those bitter greens.
That's the medicinal part of it. The bitter for the liver, for toxicity in your body.
But it does take some getting used to, but now I actually love it. Like Europeans have a great salad that I learned when I was apprenticing under a European, and I just love the dandelion greens. Yeah. And you had your hand?
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's the easier way, but that's the awesome way. Yeah.
It's
awesome.
An excellent alternative for coffee. So yes, most definitely. All right. Well, just a little disclaimer before we get into this. The information in this presentation is for educational purposes only and should not be construed as medical advice. It is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. although it can do all of those things, but you didn't hear it from here. Please be diligent in studying more about these marvelous weeds before using them. All right, we just had to do that just in case. But this morning I was talking about the green smoothies, and I didn't want to get into the recipe and everything this morning. But for any of you who wanted just a really quick, simple recipe for a green smoothie, there's a really nice one. I like to make mine nice and sweet because I'm a sweet kind of kid. So just the greens, banana, pear, grapes, whatever you want to put in there. And that's just a really basic green smoothie. We do a lot more with ours.
Yeah, just whatever we have in season or whatever. Yeah, throw it in. But
exactly.
This is a delicious one. Love this one. You don't have, oh yeah, you do have grapes. Yeah, that's the thing you always love, putting the grapes in.
The grapes really sweeten it up nicely, and a nice Bosque pear will sweeten up really nicely. But yeah, just do anything you want with your smoothies. But just, you know what, that 2 cups, I thought I had changed that. Take away that 2 cups. That's nothing.
That would be
the
half a serving.
Yeah, that's for the very first time you do it. But the next time you need to do like 4 cups, 6 cups. Seriously, cram those greens in there. The more you put in, the more benefit you're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So starting off.
Yeah. So does anybody recognize this weed? What is this called? Plantain. Awesome.
Wonderful.
Okay.
And there's the...
Yeah, and the 2 different kinds. So we have the broadleaf plantain or the narrowleaf plantain.
Now, another name for plantain is the Englishman's foot. Anybody know the story behind that? Exactly,
awesome. Yeah.
Exactly. When the Englishmen first came over to the continent, the indigenous peoples would marvel because everywhere the Englishmen walked, it seemed that this plantain would spring up, and they had brought it on the soles of their boots. So that's one of the names for it. Native to Europe and parts of Asia, and as you mentioned, there's the 2 types. What can you tell us about this plantain?
Great source of protein, so great survival food. If you ever didn't have your garden, you could, live off of this plant pretty much. So
there might come a time when we need to.
The seeds are a great source of dietary fiber. Psyllium, are you guys familiar with that? So that's where the psyllium comes from, is from plantain. It's just the husk. The husk of the seed. You have a seed pod at the top, and so that's
what you put in your bread?
It's just a very good source of fiber. So that's
a lot of people use it for constipation purposes, remedial purposes and such. Yeah, exactly. So really good for the respiratory health.
Definitely, yeah.
So one of the things for things like COVID, for example, all the things that we're going to be talking about today, we've been learning about over the last several years since COVID hit. And it's just so amazing because in your backyard is your medicine cabinet. When you've got a flu, when you've got COVID, whenever you've got whatever, your backyard, just go and harvest. Seriously. And there'll be stuff in there that you can use. But for the respiratory health, it's really good because it's rich in the mucilage, which moistens and coats the airwaves. So when you've got that cough, that bad racking cough, it's a wonderful lubricating kind of thing for you. Reduces the irritation, bronchitis, all of those kind of things. But this is really neat. The bottom line there, studies have found the above to be true, and the German Commission E, has approved its use. So even they understand the medicinal use of these types of weeds.
Tea, you can put it in your soup. You can just eat it like a, I think in the next.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so here we'll talk about it. And as we're going through here, and I just want you guys to be noticing this as we go through, you'll notice that a lot of the plants that we're covering are good for the same things.
Yeah.
It's like God has put so many different, we might not have this plant in our backyard or that we find, but there's going to be another one. There's always something that's going to be good for whatever ails us, basically.
Yeah, so this presentation we're giving is almost redundant because we're
it's-
going to be saying this is good for this and this is good for this, but they're all good for basically everything. So it's
there are some that definitely are better in certain areas than others, but really they all have amazing properties. For one thing, they all have that chlorophyll, right? They're green, so that alone is giving all these different benefits of antioxidants, etc.
Absolutely. So we'll come to the recipe in just a little bit, but this next slide talks about the gastrointestinal purposes. Yes. Okay. You're seeing it there? Oh, yeah. We've got a few slides of this plantain because there's so many great things about it. So we talked about what we were just talking about.
Germany Commission.
Yeah, the respiratory part. Now the gastrointestinal. So stomach ulcers, again, because of that mucilage kind of function, it's going to help to coat any of those kind of wounds internally.
What else is there to cover here?
Lots,
Yeah, lots.
Cramping, stomach ache, all of those things. Anything that's happening inside that gastrointestinal system is just going to be helping to heal those things.
And it's high in vitamin C, so of course that is amazing for us, so essential.
Bleeding, topically, you can stop some bleeding.
Yep. And actually, there's so many plants that are out there that will stop bleeding, which is a very handy thing if you're in the woods. I mean, moss is one thing that will stop bleeding. Spider web will stop bleeding. Cayenne pepper will stop bleeding. So it's amazing. There's just the first aid kit is out there in the woods.
Absolutely.
But so it stops bleeding, heals cuts, bruises, puncture wounds. Bug bites, excellent for nettle stings. If you get stinging nettle, rub some of that rub some of the plantain on it, and that will stop that.
It also has that really good drawing power. So if you've got like a splinter or some, poison got under your skin or something, it's got that really good drawing power where if you will just put some on wherever it is, it's going to start to actually draw stuff out of your system. It's
and it will
totally amazing.
It will pull that splinter right out. Yeah.
Exactly. Let's see what else we want to say here.
Intense drawing ability, poisons. Yeah, you covered that. Another thing for skin health, especially for the ladies, maybe some men too, but making a mask with this, just sticking in the blender, maybe with some flaxseed, avocado, blending that up, making a face mask. That's super good for your skin.
Nourishing for the skin.
Yeah.
Wonderful. It encourages cell growth. Got sunburn? Put some of this on there. Fantastic. So now we can come down to talking about eating it. Eating the leaves, raw, steamed, boiled, do all kinds of things with it. But if you're going to be using it for teas, the older leaves are good for those teas, and the younger leaves are good for the eating parts. They're much more tender, a little bit more tasty than the older ones. So you can do all kinds of things, teas, salves, tinctures. Anybody make their own salves here? Yeah, fantastic.
Awesome.
Fantastic. And so when you're going to be making a tea out of it, do you want to go through that part or?
Making a tea for basically any kind of herb. It's the same recipe. So 1 to 2 teaspoons dried herb in a cup of boiling water. Make sure you cover, as soon as you put the herb in there, cover it over so you don't lose any of the essential oils out of there. And then just let it steep for 15 minutes or longer. And I was just going to mention about the salves, about how if anybody's made them, and there's been a few here, they're so simple. We were kind of amazed at how really easy. I mean,
exactly. We're going to go through that when we come to comfrey.
And I wasn't going to cover anything about it, but just saying, be encouraged. You can go to the health food store and spend a whole bunch of money on some of these things, or you can make it for pennies, literally. So it's pretty cool.
Exactly. And the plantain may be beneficial in treating things like diabetes, colon cancer, hemorrhoids, gallstones, psoriasis. So fantastic the way that God has packed these weeds. And the thing about plantain that I really find fascinating is that it's everywhere. It is everywhere. You go walking in the park and you're just walking along on the grass. You're walking on tons of plantain as you go along. Look down when you're walking and just see what you're stepping on. Plantain is literally everywhere.
Definitely. And a lady had her hand up there. It's just, yeah. Oh, there you go. Awesome. Hey, good tip.
Diaper cream. Love it. Those of you with babies, lots of children here. Yeah, that's fantastic. But God is so good. He's given us these weeds and he's just plastered the earth with them. And we are so nonchalant. We just don't even recognize the gold that is under our feet.
And it amazes me how the ones that are the most beneficial are the ones that seem like they're everywhere, and then we can't get rid of.
Yeah,
like whether it's
exactly.
purslane, like that's the thing that in the garden we can just get overrun with it. And that's one of the most amazing things out there is purslane, or of course dandelions and chickweed and things like this. But these things are, like God is just telling us, He's just trying to get them to grow and us to pay attention. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so we finished with that. Anybody know what this is? Woohoo, okay. Do you know another name for it? Have you ever heard of candle flower? And do you know why it would be called candle flower? It looks like a candle, but it also acts as a candle. Tell them about that.
I know. It's just
done it
as a
yourself.
kid, we'd always stick the dead ones into the fire, and they'd be swinging them around. But as a kid, I actually was really into native stuff, and so I learned through studying that about how to make a candle, how to make a lamp. Actually, you just roll up one of the leaves of this, let it dry, and that'll be a wick, and then you put it in some oil, and that makes a candle, a lamp. But you can also, they would also, for the head, they would dip it in fat and then burn it as a torch. So, yeah.
Things to know for when we're in that kind of situation ourselves. But apart from that, all of the things that it's so amazing for, it's a ton of stuff. For one thing, lots of antioxidants happening in here. But look at all the rest of the things. Anti-inflammatory, used for respiratory health, coughing, bronchial congestion, hoarseness. So again, if you've got the flu, if you've got COVID and you're having a difficult time breathing, the respiratory possibilities with mullein. Now, who was I sitting with who was telling me yes about your mullein experience? Come share that. Or can you talk louder from back there?
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And that's definitely the biggest thing that this is known for, mullein, and it is just amazing. But there's a whole bunch of other things that it's really good for too. So thanks for sharing that. That's incredible.
Absolutely.
Still pick it right now, when it's dry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would be best fresh and then dried, I would say, but you could, I guess, yeah. I mean, you can get it in the health food stores as well. I don't know if it'd be quite as effective because then it's drying over a long period of time, right, and experiencing all sorts of weather. But yeah, yeah, there. Okay, there. Yeah, yeah, awesome.
That kind of leads me to the question, I mean, we can't go out and pick it now and say it's not as good right now because it's been weather. So for the plantain and these ones, you could pick it in the summer so that you could have it in the winter.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
That would be, it would hold its,
Yeah, because you want to dry it out in a dark place. Like when you're drying herbs, you don't dry it in the sunshine. So that's why if it dried naturally in the sun, it's losing nutrients that way. So, yeah, dehydrator would be fine as long as it's at a low setting. Don't do it too hot. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, it's easy. Herbs just hang up. You know, if you don't have a dark place, just hang it in a paper bag. That's the easy way, and then it will dry like that. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Save
Yeah.
your power, exactly. But look at this, it speeds up wound healing, it's antimicrobial, UTIs, earaches, ear infections. Put some in oil and put that in your ear. Asthma, warts.
Warts.
We
Yeah,
have
that's
a story about that one.
Yeah, where was that at Hope? Was that a gentleman there? Yeah, I think so, at Hope. Anyway, this
forget where.
gentleman, he was he's on Vancouver Island. He was a native, right? That's important to the story anyway. But anyway, he was it was at a native reserve that he was at anyway, and there was this little girl that had warts. Her whole hand was just covered in warts, and he had tried mullein. It's the mullein flower that's especially potent for this. And so he had tried it on a wart that he had and had great results. So he tried it on her, and it was within a week or two max. And she came back, and her hand was completely no more warts. And just with the mullein flowers, putting that on like a poultice is how she was doing it. Yeah. Yeah. So,
Amazing.
yeah, incredible.
I love all this. I love all of this. And so anti-parasitic, roundworms, tapeworms. Drink a tea of this, and that's going to help to cleanse your system, cleanse your blood cleanser.
Yeah, it actually paralyzes the worms, which is, we don't, nasty topic, but anyway, and then they can come out. But talking about that's the one thing about mullein is the seeds. Like the flowers are okay, but the seeds, I don't advocate for this, but if you took those seeds and threw it in water, and like in a river or lake, it will actually paralyze the fish, and then they rise to the surface. You can catch them that way.
Don't try this at home.
So you don't want to ingest it
boy.
yourself, but yeah, it's
Giving people ideas like that.
yeah, you might get in a little bit of trouble.
I also read where you can put a fresh leaf in your shoe while you're walking or something, and it
Draws out toxins and stuff in the body. You have various things you can do that with.
Cool.
Onions,
Yeah,
you
that
can put
makes
them in
sense.
your shoes and do the same type of thing. But so there's the same thing.
Yeah.
The same kind of recipe for any of these. Okay, so enough mullein. Who knows what this is?
Comfrey.
This is our
Oh, you got it
favorite.
right away.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
Hello. Okay, so comfrey. Any of you have comfrey growing on your property?
Awesome.
Okay, we're coming
Awesome.
over because we need some.
Yeah, we just moved to a new
Yeah.
place. We actually have to get a big bed of comfrey now at our new
So
place.
if you find your comfrey gone, well, thank you. Thank you so much. Comfrey is the king. Comfrey is amazing stuff. Also known as knit bone because it knits your bones, literally knits your bones back together. Ancient. The Romans and the Greeks knew about this years ago. Used for, look at all these things, sprains, bruises, pulled muscles, torn rotator cuffs, pinched nerves,
Insect bites,
So
joint
much.
inflammation,
arthritis,
That's right.
carpal tunnel,
back pain. Yeah,
the
all
bone
goes on and
spurs.
on.
Oh, definitely. There was a story about a gentleman who had had frostbite 20 years back, and he was still suffering from it 20 years onward. And just using some comfrey salve on the area, I think it was like over a few days or a week or so, gone. Gone. Doug.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. We did a class. Was it a couple of years ago that we did that class in Kelowna?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
And one of the classes we showed how to make comfrey salve, and then there was a couple people in the audience that had really bad arthritis, and so they asked if they could take some of the salve and try it the rest of that day, and anyway, so they came back the next day. We had another class the next day, and they were just raving because it just like overnight, it was just amazing how it relieved the pain and got the mobility and everything. So yeah, pretty amazing. Any of it, the root is the most potent. So yeah, this is the most potent. Now there's that other story we should share. Yeah, the D story. Yeah, the new injury. So this was a nurse that down in the States.
Yeah.
I don't really. I've met her, but online. But anyway, so she told us she's a nurse, and so she knows what she's talking about. Anyway, she had a guy, I think it was at their place or something.
Doing
They have a farm, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, he cut off the end of his finger. Was it a few fingers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, fingers. Anyway, in a machine, he cut them off, and it just like totally, he couldn't get them sewed on because they were totally destroyed. And so they went and put, it was charcoal, I think, and
Yeah, they cleaned it up with some charcoal and such.
but I
get
think
rid
they
of
made a
toxins
poultice with charcoal and
and
comfrey.
the comfrey.
And anyway, within
A few weeks.
within a few weeks, his fingers had grown right back, and with the fingernails and everything grown. And she said she wouldn't. She's a nurse. She wouldn't believe it. She hadn't seen it.
herself.
It was, and since then we've heard of another person experience the same thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Try it.
Not sure if the memory is there. It's quite that long, but
Try it.
but it's still.
Cells.
I'm sure there would be benefits because, of course, that finger is going to be more sensitive, and I'm sure you're going to experience benefits anyway. But who knows? I'd be pretty skeptical of that happening. But
Try it. Surprise us. Surprise us. Yeah.
But anyway, it's an incredible herb. They're. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot to bring this book because I like to read a story that's in this book. This is an older book. What is this, 1930s or
H.E.
so?
Kirshner. Does anybody know of this gentleman?
Yes.
Yeah, he was quite the doctor. Was he? I think he was actually something. I want to say thing.
I believe he was. But he tells a story of an older story of a woman whose daughter had gotten, I don't know if it was colon cancer, it was some kind of internal, I think it was colon cancer. And so she had taken her daughter to the doctor, and the doctor had given them this big, prescription thing to.
No, there was two different stories. That
I
was
mixing up two
that was
stories?
the ulcer, I think, wasn't it?
Oh, was it the ulcer?
Yeah, we need the book.
Okay. Let me make up a story for you. Yeah, okay. So the ulcer, that's what it was. This one was the ulcer. Her daughter had an ulcer, and so the doctor had told them to do something for the ulcer.
Take medication, yeah.
And a few weeks later, she went back to the doctor. Her daughter was all healed and everything, and went to the doctor, and the doctor was, just happy because he had helped. Until the lady said, "Doctor, can I confess something?" And he says, "Sure." She says, "I didn't give my daughter anything you told me. I gave her strong cups of comfrey tea, and that's what cured it. Just totally got rid of everything." So you will find online, there's a lot of.
You will find on most websites that they'll say do not take internally.
Yeah.
And we can give you information that says contrary, and you can make up your own mind. We're not going to tell you what to do. we're not concerned at all about it. We'll just say that. They did some studies with rats, and this is something that has happened with numerous kinds of herbs and stuff, where they gave them literally, it'd be equivalent to us having a pickup load of comfrey and eating that. And so they gave that to them over and over every single day. That was their diet. And then they developed some tumors. But, every kind of plant that is out there, they have defense mechanisms against insects and against pests. So they have these anti-nutrients. But really, that's why you need a wide variety of a whole bunch of different things. Don't eat a whole ton of comfrey or a whole ton of garlic, because you'll get issues no matter what kind of plant you eat. If that's all you eat, you'll get issues. So
Exactly.
yeah.
So everything good in moderation. That's
Exactly.
the bottom line. But so there will be those places on the internet and books that would say, don't use this internally. But I've talked to people who said, oh my goodness, my mother used to feed that to us like spinach, So you've got to follow the money as well as following the science. You've got to follow the money to see where studies lead back to, and then make up your mind.
And there's a number of European countries, they've treated comfrey like a vegetable for literally thousands of years.
Exactly.
And yeah. Yeah, and I would say, definitely.
Yeah, because it's pretty powerful.
And
It is
actually,
powerful.
any herb, if you take it continuously, it will start to lose the effects as well as you can get issues if that's all. Yeah, if you're overdosing if you take too much like that.
Let's talk about poultices, doing like a comfrey poultice. Or should we?
Oh, we can go through that, and then might as well. Got it there.
Yeah,
We
'cause-
will in our next class this afternoon. We will go
show
into
you some
show,
poultices and
but-
stuff, how to do things.
Yeah. So has anybody made poultices for themselves?
Great.
Awesome.
Great. All right.
So what are some things that people have used? Castor oil, awesome.
Yes.
Onion, excellent.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's an excellent, charcoal's amazing.
Epsom
Oh,
salts.
okay, excellent.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, there's literally, as many, you can make a poultice out of any kind of plant, and they're all amazing, but there's are a few that we'll cover here that are especially beneficial.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's it.
okay.
The cabbage and
There you
people
go.
have
So-
mentioned all these.
Yeah, so.
Okay, so going back to making a comfrey poultice, those of you who know how to make poultices, easy as pie. You're just going to take those leaves, chop them up, or blend them up with a little bit of water, put it in with some ground flax, put it just the way you see it there, wrap it up. You can pin that, you can put some saran wrap over it, or however you find it most effective to keep it pinned together. And then applying it for 4 to 6 hours before applying a fresh one. And you've just heard all the different stories about all the wonders that this can produce. So,
And are people aware that back before, I'd say the 1950s, that this was common practice in hospitals? This is what hospitals did. They did poultices all the time. But it's become almost a lost art, but we need to
Absolutely.
revive it
Yeah.
because it is amazing.
and then there's the comfrey salve. So easy to make. Make sure you get this recipe down. Just getting some beeswax, some comfrey powder, some olive oil, and heating that up, then letting it chill. Nice and easy. That's the easy way to do it. You can do it the longer way where you're infusing comfrey leaves into the oil over like a month kind of thing. And that's a more holistic way of doing it and without any of the heat. And that can work as well.
This works great though.
Yeah.
And it's very easy. It will be a tiny bit gritty because of that comfrey. You'll notice it when you rub it on. But of course, you could use this for all sorts of different kinds of herbs. It doesn't have to just be comfrey. You could use the same recipe for whatever herb.
Okay.
Okay.
What's this one?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah, thank you for that. I was going to cover that. Yeah.
Thank you. I went too quickly.
Yeah, so the reason why, what is the reason why you
Well,
don't
the
want
reason why, okay, so it says comfort at the bottom there for pain stimulates healing. Only use if no infection. So you only want to use it if there's no infection, or you want to really make sure you've cleaned out your wound really well, because it heals so quickly. If there's infection in there, it's going to seal it in, and then you'll have more trouble.
it heals the skin right over top
Yeah.
and traps it in there, so that's
Yeah.
why you don't. Yeah.
You got to make sure there's no infection, because this thing is so quick. It's so amazing. Totally amazing. Okay? All right. Yeah.
Just a quick story. I broke my,
Clavicle? Sternum. Mhm.
I broke my sternum, and Larissa came over night after night and made me a like a poultice out of that comfrey stuff. But I was up and running again, in just a matter of weeks. So
Amen.
it was Larissa's poultice that she made.
Amen. That's
Fantastic.
awesome.
Fantastic.
I read the warning.
Yeah. Yeah, and on that, one thing I wouldn't recommend is the root for taking internally, because that is the most potent. So the leaves are much more mild, and I wouldn't be concerned at all, as long as you're doing it moderately for the leaves. But yeah, there's so many different. There's no reason, like there's so many different herbs. Like you can take, say dandelion tea for a week and then do comfrey. Like you can mix it all up. There's so many. You don't need to just do. There's no reason to just do comfrey all the time. There's lots of amazing teas and herbs. So.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so what is this one? Does anybody recognize this herb? Awesome. Well, you guys are good.
Yeah.
Some audiences have been stumped at some of these, so that's awesome.
Yay for yarrow. Now, this one has an interesting backstory as well, the Achilles heel thing. It's one of those, the myth stories. You know what? I haven't told it for a while. Am I forgetting it? Yeah, Achilles, his mother. Yeah, his mother was holding him and dipping him in a vat of the yarrow.
Yeah, that was the yarrow.
Of the
Sorry,
yarrow.
that was the yarrow.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she was dipping him in a vat of this yarrow tea thing to kind of bless him or whatever.
Give him a.
But she held him by the heel, and where she held him didn't get dipped. So that's why it's called the Achilles heel, because that's your sore spot, your soft spot. So that was.
And then that's where he got
That's where he-
wounded,
yeah,
right?
exactly,
So the
got killed,
Whole
so.
myth, yeah. But anyway, but it has a pretty cool name, warrior plant.
Oh, yeah.
Can anyone figure out why it would be called warrior plant? Any ideas?
attached to the story.
Yeah, actually, the next line actually kind of gives a hint. So medicine for the wounded. So that was for warriors getting wounded. That was the plant to go and get healed from.
Exactly. That's why his mother was holding him in it. But not the heel.
Yeah,
Okay,
yes.
so one of nature's best Band-Aids. Look at all the stuff. Analgesic, antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, all the antis, antiseptic, astringent, bitter, all of these things. Yarrow is beyond amazing. They're all beyond amazing. I keep saying they're all amazing.
In their own way. Yep,
Yes.
this is definitely, I mean, if you could have one herb in your medicine cabinet, I would say this is probably the one it does so much.
Definitely. Flies, mosquito, tick repellent. That would be a really good thing. Do you guys have ticks in this area? Oh, okay. Keep it here, will you? We don't want it in Cherryville.
Yes, for some reason we don't have much out there,
Yeah, we
Cherryville. We haven't
don't.
seen any, and
We don't,
we
yeah.
were in Christian Valley, if you know where that is. We were there for a couple of years, and there it was like a plague of them. It was quite unbelievable. But yeah, I was also going to mention for headaches. Yarrow tea is also a really good thing for people with headaches. So, yeah.
Rubbing it on your
No,
skin.
making an
or a
ointment or just
salve.
rubbing, like a salve, yeah.
Yeah.
Although I have to say, I mean, I don't know if I would totally rely on this. I know I've used this for mosquitoes and it works, but not for that long of time. But it will work. But yeah.
It also is great for bleeding, stopping internal and external bleeding. So, drinking that or putting it on as a poultice. But the others we talked about were good for bleeding too. So you see where it starts to get like any of these things, you can use them for anything. That's how good God is. He gives us all of these things just in case we don't have some of them in our backyards. But look at this: mild stomach indigestion, bloating, flatulence, nausea, circulation, varicose veins, so many things, wounds, topical wound healer. Now it talks about it for eruptive conditions like measles, chickenpox, insect bites. And so I was thinking when that, remember when that monkeypox thing was coming down the pipe, I was thinking, hey, yarrow might be good for that too. So,
don't hear anything more about that anymore.
Haven't heard anything about it. But if it comes back again, we know that we've got some herbs that we might want to try.
Yeah, so medicine chest, yarrow tea wards off cold and flu. That's, headaches. Yeah, so I did have it here. For preventing or healing a sore throat, gargling with it. So just goes on and on. Inflamed gums, mouth infections.
Chewing on the leaves, that's a really neat one. Have you done that?
Not for toothache pain. No, when I was a kid, I remember learning then that about for a headache, it's just chew on some leaves. So that's a cool one. And lowering blood pressure, so it promotes good blood flow. So that's interesting. It will stop bleeding for external, internal. So that's the amazing thing with these herbs is that they regulate. So they can go either way. Like a similar thing is like cayenne pepper. And we are talking about cayenne pepper for our next class, right? So I shouldn't say it all now. Go ahead. But like how cayenne pepper can actually stop a heart attack. It gets your blood flowing so good, it thins out the blood and can stop a heart attack. But also you put it on a bleeding cut and it will stop the blood stop the bleeding there. So
they just regulate. They know what to do. That's the amazing part. They know what to do. Hold on here.
I have a story of the kind of
Yes.
herbologist I used to see. People would just phone when they had something wrong in the sleeves, and my husband's having, I want to say heart attack, but maybe it was a stroke. And he said, give him a drink of cayenne pepper, like the hottest water you can, like right now, get him down him, get him pumped down him, and he lived.
Yes.
amen, awesome. Isn't that incredible? Yeah. We actually were in a Nelson, and someone gave the same kind of story with a heart attack. Yeah, thank you for sharing. That's just it blows my mind to think. I mean that this has that kind of ability to actually. I mean that person might have been dead otherwise, right? So, yeah.
The cayenne pepper.
Cayenne pepper for if someone's having a stroke or a heart attack. So just drink it in some hot water. Yeah, and so it's like a teaspoon. That's what we've always understood about a teaspoon of
Did you say
cayenne.
what she used? How much?
No, I just kind of heard the story, and it's
Okay.
just like automatically give that to him right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much.
Yeah, typically about a teaspoon in a cup of water.
Yeah. So
it
cayenne pepper is definitely something else you need in your first aid kit for stopping bleeding or for a heart attack or stroke. It's incredible.
Now, ladies, talking about blood flow, it's good for menstrual difficulties as well. So again, it's going to regulate. So it's going to slow down excessive bleeding. But if you're not having a regular flow, it's going to also regulate that. So it just knows what to do, what's needed in the body. That's how amazing God is. Okay, so talking about how to use
Okay,
yarrow.
so for the flowers, of course, you can use the leaves. For the roots, you can use the roots as well. So the flowers, when fully open, of course, don't pick them when they're looking half dead, when they're nice color. And leaves, harvest any time. Spring and summer are most potent. And I should have covered that with the mullein. For the mullein, the best are the young little leaves. I mean, you can use any of the leaves for the mullein, but the best are the young small leaves. And then harvest the roots in fall, and that's for any kind of plant. If you're harvesting the root, the dandelion or whatever, that's when they've stored all their energy over the summer, and it's all there in the fall. So, yeah. And then the recipe for the tea there.
Oily skin treatment, just some dried yarrow flowers and water, and use that to cleanse your face, and that's going to help to take away oily films off of your skin, help to dry up those oil glands there.
Okay, what is this plant? Does anybody recognize it? Oregon grape, very good. Man,
do you guys have a lot of that in this area? Yeah.
So does anybody know how amazing this is, the medicinal value?
Okay, here you go. For one thing, it's an excellent blood cleanser. Now, are you familiar with golden seal? Golden seal is so fantastic because of that it's got that golden root, the berberine kind of stuff happening. But so does Oregon grape. If you've ever seen the root, it's that golden color. So it's a cousin and a cheaper cousin, because golden seal is pretty expensive.
And just hard to even find a lot of times.
Exactly. Yeah. So Oregon grape is going to do the same thing at a fraction of in fact, no cost. It's free everywhere. It's free everywhere. So strong antimicrobial, liver stimulant, can be used externally and internally, wounds, infections. So fantastic.
And we're not covering it here, but the berries are also amazing. Has anybody eaten the berries from the Oregon grape? Oh, I see a few.
Yeah.
Aren't they delicious? I've always loved them for some crazy reason.
They're refreshing. they're kind of tart, but I think they're really nice.
Yeah, just a little bit tart, yeah. Actually, they make really, really good jelly. If you ever mix, of course, you need a whole bunch of sugar, or something to sweeten them up, honey or something.
But because they're tart and such, it's like the bitters. If you look down below, it stimulates your liver function. It's got that same kind of action as the bitter herbs do because of its tartness. So you don't want to be adding all that sugar, Randy.
Exactly. Well, honey.
Yeah, you can add the honey, and Did you talk about honey yet? No, that's the next one.
Next class, yeah.
Wait till you hear some really amazing things about honey in the next class. But what else is it going to do? Stimulate digestion, good for stomach ulcers, good for reflux. If you're having reflux issues, drink some of this tea. Stomach upsets, UTIs. It also acts as a laxative. So it's going to cleanse your bowels. And interesting little note, used in the past for syphilis. So all kinds of things that the Oregon grape, the lowly Oregon grape, is so good for. And it's so widespread. I mean, it's just everywhere.
Yeah, and I would say it's probably one of the two top for this western, like BC area, probably one of the two top herbs, wild herbs, for medicinal value. It's very, very powerful.
And here's how to use it.
So the bark, because if you peel off the bark, you'll see it's all yellow on the inside. Or you can take the roots as well, but of course the bark off of, especially if you see a bigger bush, just peel it, and then the plant will keep on living if you don't peel all the bark off. And so can eat the young leaves. That's another thing I've always loved since I was a little kid, is eating the young leaves.
They don't look too edible.
But when they're soft, you don't want them when they're all old, but when they're young, they're actually a nice lemon flavor. Yeah. So I like it. But
what's that?
Not when they're young. They're actually very soft. Yeah, just when in the spring. Yeah.
Young.
Yeah, young. Not when they're pokey. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. No.
You could steam it. You might steam it.
Oh, I don't know. That would be pretty hardcore.
All right. There are some cautions because it's pretty potent. So do not use if you're pregnant. A lot of these herbs, you do have to be careful if you're pregnant. But then when you're pregnant, you got to be careful about a lot of things. So just to keep this in mind, if you're pregnant or breastfeeding, or if you have liver damage, you want to be really judicial in your use of herbs, especially if you're already taking drug medicine for liver damage. So
Yeah,
just something to
so
keep
this
in.
one, it is, if you make a tea with this, it is very bitter. So you wouldn't want to drink a whole bunch of it probably, but yeah, so a maximum of half a cup 2 to 3 times a day. And yeah, so not a whole lot.
So with the roots, would you also peel?
The roots I just chop up there. It's like wood. It's very woody. So I just chop it up as fine as I can and then just make, and you want to make the tea with this. Yeah, we have the instructions here. So simmering for 15 minutes because it is a woody material. Actually simmer the roots or the bark in the water. And I would cover that just to keep everything in there. All the nutrients.
Yeah, when you're using woody materials for making tea, that's a decoction. You're going to boil it or simmer it to get the stuff out. Otherwise, you're infusing, just pouring the boiling water over the leaves and just letting it infuse. So 2 different ways of making the teas depending on what part of the plant that you're using. All right, we're going to end up quickly here. It's 3, but we just wanted to talk about Devil's Club.
Who's familiar with this plant? Yeah, any fallers, I'm sure they've seen this plant a whole lot, right? Did you know how amazingly medicinal this plant is? Yeah, I was always just told, oh, this plant is poisonous, and actually not even the berries. I was told the berries are poisonous on this. No, they're not poisonous. This is actually one of the very top medicinal herbs in BC here.
Hold on. And the interesting thing is that if you get stung by the Devil's Club, you can get infected, but you can also use the same Devil's Club to ease your infection. So the one plant will sting you, will kill you, but will also bring you back, kind of thing. Very interesting plant. Very, very interesting. Interesting name, Devil's Club. But
yeah, we'll get into it. You can use the bark, the inner bark, like from the. Yeah, if you've seen how it grows, like it will be along the stem will go along the ground and then come up. And so you can use that or the root as well. You can use, or here also parts to use. You can also like natives for forever, pretty much have eaten the early shoots as well. You can eat the early shoots. Once again, the best time I believe for this is in the fall. The fall is the best time to harvest the root or the inner bark. Yeah. I was gonna say I've done a lot of backpacking. And in the monasteries, I've done a lot of my backpacking in the monasteries, and there's like a ton of Devil's Club before you get up to the Alpine. I remember many times where I'd be walking on fallen logs, and it's just a sea of Devil's Club below me. You do not want to fall off of those logs.
But if you do, you can still use it to cure yourself. So that's the good thing.
It looks like, the devil. That's the reason why it's called Devil's Club. Yeah.
All right, so just a whole bunch of things that it does. It's going to help to remove mucus from the respiratory system. So again, we're talking flus, COVID, any of those kinds of things. Stabilizes your blood pressure, forms new blood vessels, regression of atherosclerosis, so, coronary heart disease. Relieves pain, it gives pain, but it also relieves pain. Stimulates your immune system, regulates your blood sugar levels, all of these things. Who knew that these plants could do all of these things? How good is our God? That's the bottom line. How good is our God? And there we talked about those. More things, soothes stomach ulcers, nervous stomach. Wow. Reduces pain from arthritis. Incredible. Caution, the inner bark is emetic and in large doses can cause vomiting. But who's going to do it in large doses? In all good things, moderation. Just keep that in mind. Okay.
And that's the end.
That's the end of this particular presentation. We're supposed to have a few minutes of a break. Oh, you tell them, you tell them.
Oh, thank you so much. You're learning some things. I have learned a lot. Thank you so much. We are going to let you have just a few minutes break, just to use the washroom, grab a glass of water if you like. I also have a sign-up sheet here. I'm just telling you about this now. I'll send it around on our last session. But if any of you have to leave and you would like us to inform you of other sessions with the Haines and others, if you give us your email or your phone number or both, then we will just tell you of future programs that we're having. So I'll put that there. So please take about 7 minutes. We'll start at 7:15. Okay.